You ever wonder why, despite all the money being pumped into the economy, things just don't feel like they're booming? Well, that's the puzzle we're getting into today, a massive shift that's quietly reshaping our world, from our jobs all the way to our investments. Okay, so here is the central mystery that has had economists just scratching their heads for years. After the 2008 financial crisis, central banks basically threw trillions of dollars at the economy to get things moving again. Now, the textbook says that should have kicked off a huge surge in growth, but it didn't. Productivity just flatlined. So, what happened? And this is what economists have dubbed the productivity paradox. It's like you're slamming the gas pedal to the floor in your car, but the speedometer doesn't budge. It's a huge, flashing sign that the economic engine we've been relying on for a century is sputtering. And the old instruction manual, well, it's totally out of date. So to figure out what's actually broken, we need to take a quick look at how the machine was supposed to work in the first place. Let's rewind to the old rules of the economy. For most of the 20th century, the formula for economic growth was, pretty straightforward. It was all about tangible capital, things you could literally touch. If you wanted to grow your business, you built another factory, you bought a bigger machine, or you put up a taller office building. The economy was a physical thing, and growth just meant making more of it. Simple. But this is where the theory just completely smashed into reality. See, the whole point of all that cheap money was to get companies to invest in productive things. Instead, a ton of that cash just got wasted. Companies used easy loans to build more factories or buy more machines, but there weren't enough customers to buy all the extra stuff they could now make. And that led to a glut of capacity and, you guessed it, shrinking profits. This created a really strange problem: zombie firms. Yeah, you heard that right. These are companies that aren't actually profitable. But because money is so cheap, they can afford to just keep paying the interest on their loans without ever really growing or innovating. They just shamble on, tying up capital, talent, and resources that could have been used by newer, better companies. But here's the twist. While this old tangible economy was zombifying, a new, mostly invisible economy was quietly staging a takeover. This new economy runs on a totally different kind of fuel: intangible capital. Now, unlike a factory or machine, you can't physically touch these assets. We're talking about things like the lines of code behind an app, the chemical formula for a new drug, or the global recognition of a brand like Nike. These aren't just expenses, they are incredibly powerful investments that are driving almost all modern growth. I mean, think about it for a second. The billions of dollars that a pharmaceutical company spends on R&D for a new vaccine, the incredibly complex software that lets Amazon deliver a package to your door in hours, or even the unique corporate culture at a place like Google that helps it attract the best engineers in the world. These are the new building blocks, and they're creating enormous value. And this isn't just a small shift, folks. This is a seismic change. In the major developed economies, investment in these invisible assets has now officially overtaken investment in traditional physical stuff. We are spending more on things like R&D, software, and branding than we are on new buildings and machinery. The economy has been fundamentally rewired right under our noses. And this new economy, it plays by a completely different set of rules. A car company, for example, faces diminishing returns. The millionth car it builds costs roughly the same to make as the first one. But a software company, it has scalable returns. After spending millions to develop the first copy of its software, every single extra copy costs virtually nothing to produce. That one difference has massive, massive implications for how companies grow, how they get funded, and even how they fail. This new economic logic doesn't just change the rules of the game. It creates a completely different kind of marketplace, one that is basically built to produce a handful of dominant superstar firms. And it creates this predictable and honestly pretty ruthless cycle. It all starts with an investment bubble, where just tons of cash floods into a new hot technology like AI or crypto. Inevitably, that bubble bursts and most of the companies fail. But, and this is the key part, the few that survive can then pick through the wreckage, buying up valuable patents, software, and top-tier talent from their failed rivals for pennies on the dollar. And that is how a few companies emerge as these dominant, almost untouchable superstars. Now, it might sound chaotic and brutal, but this is the hidden genius of the intangible economy. Unlike the old system that let those zombie firms linger for years, this new model is built for what we call creative destruction. It is incredibly efficient at weeding out the weak ideas and funneling all the capital and talent towards the handful of ideas that actually work. And the data absolutely backs this up. On average, industries that are heavy on intangible investment grow almost 30% faster than other sectors. That is a massive growth premium, and it's what allows these superstar firms to pull so far ahead of everyone else. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together and really understand why this huge shift from the tangible to the intangible actually matters for all of us. So what's the bottom line here? First, the old playbook for creating wealth, it's been completely rewritten. Value no longer comes from physical stuff. It comes from scalable ideas, from code, and from networks. This naturally creates winner-take-most markets. That's a feature of this system, not a bug. And it means the old economic levers that policymakers used to pull, well, they just don't work like they used to. And this leaves us with a really critical question to chew on. If our economy is now naturally designed to create just a few massive superstar winners, what does that mean for everyone else? What is the future of competition and innovation in a world that's dominated by giants? That's the new puzzle that all of us now have to solve.